All right, Walker Donaldson just cleaned up his old 57 Ford Del Rio, and he's on his way out to come talk to me about it. And I'm going to share his experiences with the car and also getting ready to have it out for the season. Okay, Walker, I am looking at a really cool car, a very unusual car. Can you explain exactly what this is to start with?
Sure, this is a 1957 Ford. It's a station wagon, as you can see, and this particular model was called a Del Rio.
Okay.
And it was available for 2 years, 57 and 58, and basically what it signified was it was a two-door station wagon, and it had the highest level of trim that you could get on one of these. So some of the things to look for are the gold insert in the spear there on the door and the front fender.
Right.
It had a 312 cubic inch V8 engine that came out of the Thunderbird. It's got the cool Thunderbird valve covers that we'll see when we pop the hood open.
Right. Okay.
And it was just basically the highest trim level that you could get in a station wagon.
Okay, so this is like loaded up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And a two-door, so I guess kind of sporty as well.
It is, yeah. It's a station wagon, so it's not built for the racetrack or anything, but it does have a little bit of a sleeker look to it.
Right. Very cool. And how long have you had this car? What's your ownership history?
Well, we've had it since I think either 2003 or 4, so that would put it at about 17 years now.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
17 years. And what was the history before that? Do you know anything about the previous ownership?
Well, we're the second owner.
Wow.
So yeah, my dad was driving down a place called Maricopa, Arizona, and I think he was actually looking for Hudson Terraplane parts. There's a guy who has stuff down there, and he drove by, the classic story. He kind of drove by and saw this sticking out of a barn, and so talked to the owner.
Yeah.
And I don't think the owner wanted to sell it at first, but he, kept pestering him, and eventually was willing to cut loose with it. And that owner had bought the car from Tex Earnhardt, who was a huge car dealer here in the Phoenix area. Just recently passed away, but it was kind of the same situation in reverse. The dealer was just getting started, and so he was talking to this farmer about, oh, you need to buy this wagon. I got one for you that you're going to love. And he didn't want to do it. He wanted a pickup truck. But then when he found out the car had air conditioning, that's what sealed the deal.
Oh, wait a second. So there's something right there. Let's talk about air conditioning, because air conditioning was not common in cars in 1957.
Yeah, that was brand new, and obviously living in rural Arizona, that was something that was pretty interesting.
Right.
For someone who was in the market. And as you can see there, it's got factory in-dash air conditioning.
Wow.
And,
yeah, so those are the vents along the top
those
there
are the vents,
by
yeah.
the windshield.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it has the under-dash air conditioning, and where did that come into play?
Yeah, that unit is it is Ford as well, but it's from the 60s, I think, maybe from a Galaxy.
Okay.
But we put that in there because it's the in-dash. It was a neat gadget, but it really didn't work.
Well, that was so early.
Yeah,
they hadn't fine-tuned how to work it.
They did, and even that one that we put in from a later car, it really doesn't cut it when it's at the hottest months here.
Right. And so you probably, there's a lot of glass on this car too, so I imagine in the summer you just let it rest.
Exactly, yeah. From the middle of June on through really about now, early October to middle of October, it kind of sits here because so much glass and so much area. Even if you did have all that air conditioning stuff, it just really isn't up to the challenge.
Tough even on a modern car.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Well, before we get all tangled up on the interior, let's pop the hood.
Sure.
And look at that engine you've got there. Okay, surprise for everybody that was expecting it to start popping up on the front. It's this hood is a rear open hood. Okay, so this was not the lowest engine either, was it?
No. This is, as you can see, it's got the Thunderbird valve coverage, which are really, really cool.
Wow, that is cool.
That cast Thunderbird there. It's a 312 cubic inch V8, and it's got plenty of power. It's a big, heavy car, but it's got plenty of power to get you where you need to go.
Right on.
And we've got a number of little improvements here that kind of make it a little more modern. You can see there's a
I see
aluminum radiator, yeah, and that helps it keep cool. Yeah, so we have this modern air unit, which is kind of stuck on the top there, and that's what runs that underdash doohickey.
No, but this is so cool. And now, do you happen to know, is that, looks like a little bit of an aftermarket carburetor, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so these had 2 different correct 4-barrels that you could get. There was a Holley and there was an Autolite, and I've tried both of them, and you know, they're what, God, I'm trying to do the math here. They're 60, 70 years old by now, and they're just a little unreliable. So we got an Edelbrock, and ever since we went to that, it's just, it's been like magic.
The newer Edelbrock just solved that problem.
Yeah, it works great.
Got it.
No complaints.
Okay, yeah, I see the Edelbrock right there. Cool.
Yeah.
And so now, so this, in the winter, we're in Arizona. Some people drive their classic cars in the summer.
Yeah, we're kind of flip-flopped here.
Here it's more in the winter, but so that you rely on this as a daily driver pretty much?
I do, yeah. It's I probably 5 or 6 years ago, I wanted to buy a house, and so I was looking around ways to save money, raise a little money for a down payment.
Yeah.
So I had a station wagon that was a modern car at that time. It was a Volvo, and that was a cool car, but I sold it. I put the money in my pocket for a down payment, to help with the down payment on the house, and stopped making payments.
Right.
And I just dragged this out and started driving it.
I can drive this.
Yeah, and I haven't looked back since then.
Still driving it.
Yep.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's fantastic. I'm sure obviously you put several thousand miles on it every winter, I'm sure.
Yeah, at least, and it's really reliable. I mean, every once in a while we have to do some more serious work on it. I think 2 or 3 years ago it had a valve job, but
yeah.
I mean, it's just a Ford V8. It's rock solid.
Yeah. So now it hasn't been driven in several months, I guess, at least. Do you do anything to get it started here? Because it hasn't been started yet. Yeah,
we'll we'll check the oil, we'll check the transmission fluid. Obviously, we'll check the tires and all that stuff. Just the very basics, and then we'll try and turn it over and see what happens.
Okay.
Usually, it fires right up. We might need to charge the battery. I don't know.
Right on.
Hopefully, there's still enough of a charge left over so we can have some action.
Right on. One thing before we close the hood, I did notice you have a Wilwood brake booster there.
Yeah.
So that means you have power brakes. It looks like a little bit updated, so you don't have the original old drum brakes on here anymore.
No, we converted these a long time ago to discs.
Okay.
That was one of the things we did in the first few years.
Well, that's a good safety upgrade. I
yeah.
mean, there's things to do to leave things original, and then there's like, if you have a daily driver,
exactly,
you want a safe car, and
2 things you want a car to do is go and stop, and it's actually more important that it stops than it goes. You're talking about safety, so
that's right.
Yeah, that's number 1 on your list.
Totally. All right, cool. Well, let's keep walking around here a little bit,
okay,
and then we'll get this thing started up. So looking at the front, we've got the classic 57 front grille and styling.
Yeah, it's there should be some kind of vertical bumper guards there, but those have been removed for style purposes.
I got you.
Make it a little sleeker looking.
Cleaned it up a little bit.
Yeah.
While we're looking, you have wow. So it looks like power steering.
Yep.
I didn't notice that, but yeah, power steering. So you have power steering, power brakes. You have an automatic transmission.
Automatic.
And of course, you have air conditioning. You have the radio. I mean, I mean, all you need is right there.
Yeah, it really is. This is kind of right around this era was when the real improvements were happening that actually kind of moved things into the modern era. You know,
right.
Cars nowadays they get GPS. They have stuff, little things like that, quality of life stuff. But the real improvements that made things modern were happening right around now, and that's why it's worked for me for a daily driver, because it. You can park it, you can steer it, you can.
Right.
You don't have to worry about shifting, 3 on the tree, any of that crap.
Right.
So,
yeah. So when you're choosing a classic car, if you want to find an older car that you want to drive daily, those are definitely considerations.
Yeah. This mid to late 50s is kind of a sweet spot, because it still looks older. Yeah. But it's got all that stuff that makes it.
As long as it's optioned up.
Exactly. Exactly.
There's some 50s cars that are very plain and have manual steering, manual brakes, no, manual shifting, and they're not as easy. Now, you're certainly drivable, but they're certainly not as convenient if you're driving them all the time.
Right.
Cool. All right, well, let's go around and get this thing ready to go and fire it up.
Okay,
I'm
let's
looking
do it.
forward to it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, and as you can see, we've got plenty
Got lots
in there. Yeah.
Yep.
Starting to get a little dark, so we might think about changing it this year, but
Sure.
for now we're good.
All right. Put a charge on the battery, have you?
No, but
So we're just going to see how good that battery is
Yeah.
after a few months.
all you folks at home, keep your fingers crossed here.
That's right. Let's see what happens. Yeah, the old the key on the left, that's kind of fun.
It's got to be in neutral safety switch. So,
Okay.
ooh, yep,
And
something is grinding
that'll be
away.
the battery.
Yeah.
Okay, to be continued.
Yep.
This is how it works.
Yep. It always goes this way.
Okay. All right, it is a different day. We're going to revisit the part 2 of the 57 Del Rio Wagon. We ran into some struggles with battery juice, and getting it started. So we're going to pick up from there. We did get it started, so now you're going to hear it start, and we're going to go for a little drive and talk about it a little bit more. Can we pop the hood and let's start it up so people can hear what it sounds like, and
Okay.
we'll talk about it a little bit more and go for a drive. I love how that hood opens on these vintage Fords.
Yeah, the battery was dead when we tried to start it last time.
Yeah.
We charged it, and that worked for a while, but the battery turned out needed to be replaced. There was a couple of times where it just didn't have the amps to crank the engine.
Yeah.
And so we replaced that. We also replaced the coil just because it hadn't been done in years. And
Yeah, just a little maintenance.
yeah, exactly. Why not? So
Freshen it up.
yeah, so now it's got some pep. So
Cool.
I'll go ahead and fire it up.
Yeah, if you don't mind, start it up. Let's hear it run. Beautiful. Now, while we're talking engine, what do you know about this engine? Has it ever been rebuilt, or is there any history you know about the engine itself?
To my knowledge, I don't think it's been rebuilt. We did a valve job on it a couple of years ago.
Okay.
But I don't think anything more serious than that.
Yeah, okay.
We have a modern radiator in there, but the engine and transmission are all original. We
Okay.
have a disc brake system that was not standard, of course. We did that.
Right, you got power disc brakes.
Exactly,
What a
yeah.
nice thing.
Yeah, and I think that's next on our list is to replace that booster.
All right, I'm going to walk around back and listen to it running here. Got the dual exhaust going. Sounds so good. And also, tell me about these wheels. I know at factory, I think it was just steel wheels and hubcaps probably. What are these wheels about?
These are wheels off of a '68 Shelby Mustang, and they belonged on a car that my father owned years ago, and he's kind of long since sold the car. And we were just talking to him about them. They apparently they've been on 3 different cars. They kind of hop from car to car as he owns them, but the wheels always stay. So this has been their kind of like final resting place.
Yeah, okay, 15-inch.
Yeah, they're about 10 years
wheels.
late for this model, but they look right at home.
Yeah, they look great on here.
We have the original hubcaps that came on this car. They're really cool. I think they're turbine head hubcaps, maybe is what they're called, but they're really beautiful. They have little painted sections.
So is it a full wheel cover?
It is, yeah, full wheel cover, and we've got them in there in great shape.
Yeah.
They're basically NOS. They've never really been driven, no nicks or
Right.
dings or anything. So
Okay.
got those in our hip pocket.
Yeah. So if you want to make it look a little more original, you can put those back on easily.
Exactly, and they have like I said, they have a little bit of white paint on them, so they'd really look nice with the color scheme here.
Right on. And I guess one last thing before we hop in and go for a ride, I just want to look at we've got it on full cargo mode with the back seat folded down.
Exactly.
But just looking at the back, how easy is it to open up and make it a cargo
It's real easy.
vehicle?
You can actually do it with one hand if you know the trick. So you can open it up right there.
Okay.
And then this part of the gate just lifts up, and you kind of tighten it with the thumb screw, and
Right
there you
on.
go. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of space in there.
Oh yeah, and and obviously this tailgate can hold some weight.
Yep.
So you can easily hang out some lumber or whatever you're carrying
Yeah. Plenty of room back there.
pretty easily.
Yeah.
That's really cool. All right, well, let's shut everything down and go for a little ride if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I like the Del Rio logo here that matches the one on the tailgate in the back.
Yeah, we may have mentioned this before, but those don't actually exist. An artist friend of ours made those up based on the correct ranch wagon script that goes on the rear quarters.
Okay.
And using the same, he sort of invented the lettering based on that. And we had our friends that have a water jet cutting place that they cut those out for us, and we
that's
kind of
really
welded
cool.
the pegs on the back and
Yeah.
made them look like they could be original.
Yeah, right. You kind of went with the style of the time. It's really great. But it's running really smooth.
Yeah, this I love the way this car runs. It's so smooth, great for being around town. It can actually do pretty well on the highway too.
Yeah, it
But,
gets up and goes, huh?
Yeah, just for driving around town, it's a dream.
Wow. Yeah, really smooth. Now this is you mentioned factory. It's original automatic transmission,
It is.
and still cruising beautifully.
Yep.
And so this was a very loaded car, I would think, for 1957. You got air conditioning, you have power steering, you have automatic, you have the big V8.
Yep. Highest trim package available. This is kind of the old joke about drawing a line down the right hand side of the option sheet. This
Yeah.
pretty much is
Just
that.
had everything that was available.
Yep.
Just threw it up on there. Yeah, it has the clock. Looks like the original radio's gone, but maybe you have one somewhere.
Yeah. It's a little bit more modern, but
Yeah.
as you can see, it's got a tape deck still, so it's not
Right.
Not exactly cutting edge technology, but
Right.
it plays all the radio stations in town, so that's all I need it for.
That's great. And then of course it's a bench seat, and then you fold up the seat in the back, so it's a 6-passenger real quick.
Yep. You can pack a lot of people in here, pack a lot of stuff in here. It's very functional. That's one of the reasons I like to drive it, is that it can do everything you need.
Yeah, it's an old car, but it's easily a very easy to drive daily driver, and a very functional daily driver. It's not like it's a little 2-seat sports car that could be a lot of fun, but not practical. But this is even a practical old daily driver. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Now, is this the factory color, this interior red?
No, it was blue, like one of the colors on the outside of the car.
Okay.
Was kind of a light blue, and we can when we stop, we can show you where some of that still is remaining in the back.
Okay.
We haven't quite gotten rid of, but when we changed it to green and white, we just kind of thought that the red interior would be nice for
I
that.
got you. Well, it's you must have found a lot of. I don't know how you did it, but it feels amazingly original. So even though you guys did a great job of making the conversion.
Yeah, a lot of the parts that you can remove, we have powder coated. For example, these moldings around the windows.
Okay.
We had those powder coated, and then the stuff on the dash that we didn't want to or couldn't tear out. Our guys at American Fiberglass took care of that, and obviously they're
Right on.
very talented. So
Yeah.
like you said, it looks like it could be original.
Yeah, it really does. It pulls off the idea very well. Huh. Cool. I love the vent windows from this era too. Nice.
Give yourself a little breeze there.
Yeah, that's great. Everything works really well. Hand crank works great. Driving shots here.
It's funny, I'm used to seeing people pull their cameras out to take pictures of the car. It's not that often that people are taking pictures from
inside.
the inside of the car.
Yeah, right.
car in particular, we're fortunate to get to ride around in a lot of cars that people don't see every day, and but this car, people seem to connect with it. I get people coming up to me all the time and saying, "Oh, when I was younger, I had one of those," or "My dad owned one. We would ride around when we were kids."
Right.
And it's funny because a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, it's one just like that," but
probably not
just like it.
Yeah.
Say, "Oh, it's just like that, except it was red, or it was a Chevy," or
right.
But the point is that it's something that a lot of people can connect with, and that's really cool.
Well, you know what? And I'm on that list because I had an uncle that did have a 57 Ford. He didn't have it for a long time, but my dad had a 58 Ford that has a lot in common. They're not exactly the same, but a lot of similarities. And he kept it for 15 years.
Wow.
So that was a part of the family for a long time. So I connect, even though it's model year off. Now his was a Strippo. It was a 2-door sedan strip with 6-cylinder, column shift,
Yep.
drum brakes. I mean, it was happy to have vacuum windshield wipers, and that was about it. I think the only option literally that it had was it had the Town and Country radio, which was a dealer install that he had done. And that was it. Otherwise, completely stripped car, but it was very functional, and it became a commuter car for him for years, and it was amazingly serviceable for him. But I think he would have dreamed of having a car like this that had all these options on it. Oh yeah.
We're really fortunate to have found this one because it doesn't really have much to be desired.
No, it's fantastic. Well, Walker, thanks so much for taking us for a little cruise and telling us about it. It's
My
really
pleasure.
Really cool.